To prune or not to prune? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the stakes and tying of outrageously growing tomato vines, or to take up arms against a sea of troubles. For the average home gardener, I don't think it matters. I just wished I could stop the whitetails from eating the tops off all of my tomato plants. I've had good success growing tomatoes in cages, growing tomatoes on stakes, growing tomatoes that are tied up by strings, growing tomatoes in containers, and even just sticking the plants in the ground and letting them sprawl all over the place. Every one of those methods produces more tomatoes than a gardener can eat. But there are some ways you can be more successful growing tomatoes. Here are my 5 tips. Number 1, get your tomato plants in the ground as early after the last frost as you possibly can. Number 2, plant varieties that will do well in your area. Talk to other gardeners, see what they're growing, what they've had success with, and what they've failed with. Number 3 is to make sure the soil around your tomatoes never dries out. I like to use a thin mulch of grass clippings around my tomatoes to help hold moisture in the soil, but just come stick your finger in the dirt. If it doesn't feel moist, it's time to water. Number 4 is to feed your tomatoes on a regular basis. Tomato vines are heavy feeders. I like to fertilize mine at least once a month, preferably once every 3 weeks. Even though we use a lot of compost in our soil, this was depleted clay, and so we're still fighting an uphill battle. And number 5 is to remember that tomatoes are tropical plants. They like heat and they like a lot of sunshine. So make sure you plant them in a location that gets plenty of sun. If you follow those 5 tips, you should get plenty of tomatoes. For the average home gardener, if you can grow more than you want to eat, that's really all you need. You can leave the academic discussion of pruning to some university student where they're trying to maximize the use of water and fertilizer and ground space. But for the home gardener, I don't think it really matters. One parting thought on pruning. When the deer came through last time, one of them ate the top off of my large red cherry tomato and then cut the stem off about a foot below the top, and that part of the plant fell to the ground and shriveled up. On a whim, I took the plant and stuck it in a pot full of soil. It obviously is growing roots, the leaves have perked up, and it even has a tomato on it, about the size of a pea. Right here. In fact, looks like it has 2. So that's how tough tomato plants are. Even totally abused, they still grow. Happy gardening, everyone.